Welcome to Chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode, we're talking with Helen Punch about being a harpist. Helen started playing the harp around 25 years ago and plays for quite a number of different events in the southwest and around Western Australia. Welcome to Chat, Helen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Helen. It's great to have you here. Helen, I think of angels playing the harp. What is the harp and what is being a harpist?
I started playing music from primary school on the piano, so right up to my 20s, and the flute. And then I started playing the harp approximately 25 years ago. And why the harp? The harp has been around for approximately 6,000 years, if not more. The very first harp was like a bow-like instrument with strings across it all. It wouldn't have been strings in, but they discovered it actually in Africa. So that was the very, very first known harp. Over the years, it has evolved. And there's also that connection, the religious connection, like with the angels and everything. And David in the Bible used to play the harp. And so it has that connotation to angels and heaven from a mystical point of view. And interestingly, I don't know whether it's appropriate to say it here, but I have played for people at end of life. And sometimes when they do hear a harp, some people actually freak out, especially if they are very sick, because they just assume that they are dying and that what they can hear are the angels, etc. So some people, other people, it's just a totally different experience. The harp, oh, about 300-400 years ago, was mainly played by men, not women. It wasn't until Marie Antoinette actually started playing the harp that it became more popular for women to play the harp. And there are different types of harp. The Celtic harp, which is very similar to the harps you get in Ireland, they have what they call levers on the harp, which is, it just changes the different strings. Anyway, that's the mechanics of the harp. The actual concert harp wasn't actually designed until about 200 years ago, and that's why it's a relatively new harp with the pedals, and the pedal harp is what you use mainly in orchestras, etc. And it's very different to play to the lever harps, and you get different size harps from little 10-string harps up to 47, 48-string harps. What the beauty of the harp is, when you compare it to other musical instruments, it's actually been referred to as having the purest of sounds. For each string, there's a lot of overtones. So even though you play in the middle of a string, you'll get one octave, and then up above, you'll get another octave, another octave. So that's why the reverberation and the vibrations of different harp strings, why it keeps blowing. And other than the flute and the harp are considered both the most purest of instruments, the sound quality, when you're looking at sound waves.
So it sounds like the harp is not actually a single thing that you can look at and say, well, that is a harp, but it could take a number of different formats. And the earliest harp you talk about is a bow shape with strings along it. And then you talk about lever harps and you talk about pedal harps. I had no idea they even had levers or pedals on them. I guess I've not looked at one that closely.
There's many different styles and sizes of harps also, yeah. And even in the Irish harps, there's what they call a triple strung harp, which is 3 rows of strings. And different string would, like one would be for a sharp and one would be for a flat and one would be for the actual string note. So it's all very different depending on what you want to play and how you want to play. And then with the pedal harps, that actually changes. You use the pedals to change the key of the harp that you're playing in. So if you want to play in C major, well, the pedals are at a certain position because they actually go up and then down. And if you want to play an F sharp, you put the pedal down to play the sharp, and then you raise it if you want to play the flat. And it's like they have harpists that play concert harps. They're often referred to as swans. You see them playing beautifully with their hands, but their legs are going like crazy down below with the pedals, changing them from the sharps and flats and neutral.
You're effectively using the string. So I gather it's like almost a flick of the string to get it to. If I think about plucking a string on a guitar,
No, it's more a brushing and a pulling string. It's not really plucking, which is very like with a guitar, you strum and you pluck. I guess it's more of a brush, but a firm brush on the string. Yeah.
so is there a connection then between your fingerprints and how the harp would play? If you brush along the
Yeah,
string.
you do. And the other thing with the harp is you never use your little pinky. You only use your thumb, index, middle finger, and your forefinger. You never use your small finger, little finger. And that's because ergonomically you just couldn't get to the string. And you always have to have your thumb up high. I mean, that's like a mantra when you start learning to play the harp. Thumbs high, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to go under to reach the octave above. It's just the way the fingering is. And it's also to play the harp, it sounds beautiful. Anybody can play, strum the harp, or just go up and down in glissandos. It sounds beautiful. But technically, to play the harp, it's one of the hardest instruments to learn. And that's because of the technique for a start. And to be able to play it confidently and to master it, it is quite difficult. And I've actually got calluses on the corners of my thumb and my fingers from that constant playing, pulling the strings.
So there's some physicality to it then. Obviously,
Absolutely. And positions, the way your arms are, and you're sitting, and ergonomically, you have to be quite comfortable. Otherwise, you'll get a lot of shoulder pain, and yeah, gets quite tense around the shoulders.
I've seen in the pictures the instrument you play is actually physically quite large, isn't it?
Oh, that's the concert harp. That's with the pedals. It's about 6 foot, I think, nearly in the old to 1.83 meters, I think, approximately. Yeah, that's a full concert harp. And so most of the harps you'll see in an orchestra are concert harps. So they might be different colours, but they've got the extended soundboard. As you go down, the soundboard extends, and that sort of produces the sound. And the strings, behind the soundboard, where all the strings are tied up. And if you need to change a string, you have to go inside. There's a couple of holes there that you can put your hand in to change the strings.
Is it a hollow type structure, like a guitar is a hollow type, an acoustic guitar at least?
Yeah, and that's like the soundboard, and that projects a sound.
And that soundboard, does that run all the way down the instrument, like
Yeah,
where
yeah,
I gather it's the bottom string
yeah,
join.
yeah,
It's sort of
yeah,
that's
right
the
down
area.
to the top. Yeah,
So the strings impart the vibration into the
yeah,
soundboard,
yes,
and you're hearing what's
yeah,
coming from the
yeah,
soundboard, really.
yeah, it projects the sound out, the soundboard. And then the lever harps are basically the same, but a lot smaller, and the shapes are quite different with the lever smaller harps. You get the Celtic look, which is a round or sort of half circle in the front, and but mostly the soundboard is usually always straight. If you look at the Irish harp, that's a typical little Celtic harp in the style of it.
You talk about a straight and a circle, so that sounds a bit like, or looks a bit like a D-shaped
Yeah,
instrument.
yeah, they're more of the Celtic style.
So there's a lot more to harps than I thought. That's for sure.
Yeah, and then there's also the lap harps, which is like a, an instrument that you put on your lap and you just strum across it. So, I mean, there's harps, all different styles, and there's India, they've got different ones. Ukraine has got a special one. All over the world, different countries have got different. China, I think, has also got a different style of harp, and they combine its harp and then like a guitar. It's just very different, but they have the strings. There's so many different in the world, so many different types.
We use one word, but there are so many different variations out there. It's pretty
Oh,
impressive.
absolutely, absolutely, and they're beautiful to play, and anybody, like I said, anybody can play it. And there's one particular harp you can buy online. It's called a reverie harp, Reverie, and and that's set in a pentatonic mode, which means you can play it no matter how you play it. It sounds beautiful. You don't have to change the key; it's already set in a particular key. And that's very beautiful if you want for yourself, or anybody wants to just play a harp music for themselves. And it's very good for meditations, to unwind, relax, make people feel good. And yeah, it's a beautiful little lap harp. No worries about technique with that one. You just your finger just goes across the strings. You can use one finger for that. It doesn't matter, but it sounds beautiful.
Having that ability to play something that makes you feel good, I guess, at that point, that's really what you're aiming to do there. That's
Oh,
amazing.
absolutely. Yeah.
Helen, we've got a bit of an understanding of what a harp is. Probably need to have a look at some pictures of some variants in order to resolve how they look and how they change. What does it take you, Helen, to be a harpist?
As in time and commitment. Yeah, I think there needs to be disciplined, I think is a big thing for me. Discipline to make the time to practice. And over the years, it's for me, if I don't play the harp for a few days or whatever, I notice within myself I start to feel maybe a bit down or whatever. For me, it's very much keeps me grounded, I suppose, and centered. And I have found sometimes if I haven't played the harp, say for a week or something, and then I go down and start playing, I straight away start to feel really good. It's like I've come home and I need to play it. It's become part of my life really, and what I do. And I love I love playing for myself, and then I also like playing and sharing with others also. If people want to listen, if they don't, that's fine. I'm not worried. But for me, it gives me so much to be able to play the harp. For me personally, and yeah, I think that discipline to play. And sometimes if I don't have anything coming up, I get a bit slack, I suppose, and not playing. But then, like I said, it does affect me if I don't play a few days.
It makes a difference when you've got a performance coming up, is that
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Then you have to, yeah, practice and, yeah, preparing for it.
And you mentioned earlier about having studied music. What was your history of playing of music?
Yeah, I started playing in primary school, the piano, and I went up and did year 12 with the piano right through to my 20s. And that I went through the AMEB syllabus for the piano. And then I started playing the flute in my late 20s. I was actually in the youth orchestra, WA Youth Orchestra, playing the flute. And then I became fascinated with the aesthetics of the harp. A lot of people talk about how they were drawn to the harp. Mine was more of an aesthetic appeal. When I saw the harp once in a hotel foyer, just the harp on its own, no harpist there, whatever, just aesthetically. And it really appealed to me. And I guess as a child, I was very much into other realms, I suppose, where you would imagine harps and all the rest as being part of that world. So I thought when I did see the harp and live, real harp, it just resonated and appealed to me, and that's why I started to learn. And then over the years, I've had some brilliant teachers. I started learning with the principal harpist at Wasso at the time, Sarah Bowman, and she was wonderful. And then another, Marshall McGuire, who's a very well known harpist. He's based now in Melbourne. He was one of my main teachers, and interesting, I've had only a few teachers. Well, the other one was Tony Maywell. He's another good harpist. He's from Perth. And then Alice Giles, and she's an internationally recognised harpist. She won one of the international awards as a harpist many years ago. So she does workshops around the world, very professional. I had some wonderful teachers over the years. And more recently, I've changed to therapeutic music. So I combine the classical harp playing and then the therapeutic harp playing music. And of course, being able to play, being classically trained made it so much easier just to transition and play therapeutic music. But I interchange just depending what I do. I can play classical or therapeutic because I play at weddings and different events. That's usually to classical music.
You've had the classical training through piano and then obviously through the flute and playing that at a high level by the sound of things. And then through that connection, you've been able to also find very high level people to
Yeah,
help you learn the harp. So
yeah,
that's an amazing.
and I'm sure about 90% of harpists started playing piano first before changing over to the harp. I think it makes the music, when you read the music, it's very similar, although the fingering, because we don't use our little finger, sometimes it has, you have to adjust the music. But mainly piano music, to read it is very easy to play on the harp.
I have no connection at all to playing music or even reading music. So it's interesting that I've seen sheet music, but I don't know what to do with it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
So it's interesting. And I know they have different parts in it. And when you see an orchestra play, obviously you have someone directing, and it almost, for me, a black art about like who plays next. And there's obviously systems for all of that to happen. So it's interesting to hear that music written for a piano is actually, or translates relatively well to the instrument you play as well.
yeah, and with the harp music also, especially when you're if you're playing in an orchestra, because the music is relatively new, like a couple of 100 years, a lot of the great master, sort of Beethoven. I don't know if Beethoven has, but when you're playing in an orchestra, they actually don't have music for a harp because, unless of course it's up to a couple of 100 years ago, in orchestras there you'll find the harpist often will be sitting there not playing much because the music's probably there wasn't the music written for the harp part in the original composers.
You mentioned a couple of 100 years ago, so before that they did write it, and then they stopped. Is that how it went
No,
down?
no. Before a couple of 100 years, they never had any harp parts for the classical pieces.
So things that have been written in the last couple of 100 years are more likely to have a part for the harp.
Yeah,
I guess in everything that we do, there's trends, and obviously the trend has been to have more harp music
yes.
more recently. We've heard what it takes, Helen, to be a harpist. We'll have a short break, and after the break, we'll have a look at what it means. We've heard what it takes, Helen, to be a harpist. Now, let's have a look at what it means. Helen, what does it mean to you, your family, or the community that you can be a harpist?
For me, the harp is very much a healing instrument. And I guess that's why when I play the harp, it gives me so much emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. It's very much an instrument that covers all aspects for myself, being holistic within myself and what I do. For many years, I was very shy and didn't like to play harp in front of others. And I'll never forget the first time I started playing at Solaris Cancer Care. It was about 18 years ago, I think, 15, 18 years ago, when it opened in Bunbury. I had a lady come and sit right next to me as I was playing the harp, and I just about froze. I, um, I just found it just so stressful. But I was determined to keep going back because for me, I knew it gave that person so much and made people feel good listening to the music. And I think it's that the harp having that connection to the spirit and the other world. And what it does for the family, I think over the years, and when we had three boys and they were at home, I think that was just such. I was always playing and practicing at home. It was always part of the family life, I guess. And they just seem to take it for granted. Although my husband currently, he's he is calls himself my roadie, especially if I go and take my concert harp to any event. He actually helps me put it in the car and take it out. It's a bit of an effort. It's not easy to just throw in the back of the car. I know it weighs about 50, 60 kilos or more, I think. And so, but I think it makes him feel good to be able to do that for me. And it's good that he can come and share that with me when I do go out and play. And for the community, I think after that very first time with that lady sat near me when I was playing at Solaris Cancer Care, I've still to this day go to Solaris and play the harp regularly. And how I play and what I do now over the years has evolved. And nowadays I do what they call a harp meditation. I just play the harp for about an hour, and it's a music I play which is very focused on healing type music. A lot of it's unfamiliar music because you don't want, if people are relaxing, you don't want them to think, oh, that's such and such a song. You just want them to just let go and unwind, and just feel the music. And they often doze off and go to sleep. And also, for 7 years approximately, I was playing harp at St John of God's Hospital, mainly in palliative care. So I used to play for people at end of life, and people generally, if they were in for a short while, I'd ask if they want me to play the harp, and I would do in their rooms one on one. And I also played in oncology at St John's and also in dialysis unit. And while I was at St John's, I completed a course in therapeutic music, so I'm a qualified clinical musician, as they call it now. So I also played in maternity ward for prem babies and for mums who've just given birth to babies, and also in surgical ward. So I played all over the place at St John's, and that was for about 7 years I did that. And the nursing home, I've been playing at various nursing homes, and one in particular I've been going regularly for 8 years now, and I go there once a fortnight. And that's different type of music, that's familiar type music, and often the residents will start to sing along to the music. I encourage them if they want to sing along. They just love it. They absolutely love it. I was there last Thursday. After playing for about an hour, I'd finished, and I said, "Right, we finished." And they just all sat there. They just didn't want to go. So I played a few more pieces, and slowly they got up and started to go out, and we've taken out those that needed help going out. And that gives me a lot of joy playing for the residents of nursing homes. And more recently, earlier this year, I qualified as a vibroacoustic therapeutic harpist. And that's what I do on a one-on-one basis with people, whereas it's a combination, it's combining sound and vibrations, and that's to promote deep relaxation. It reduces pain and also enhances personal and physical well-being. So that's a different type of harp playing once again, because you're actually laying on a pillow with some speakers on, and when you lay on that, you can actually feel a vibration. It's vibroacoustic therapy. It's been around since 1982 originally, and the harp music was introduced by a lady called Sarah Jane Williams in 1990. The difference is what I'm offering in that respect is a one-on-one with the vibroacoustic music and the vibrations. You can, in places over east in particular, they have vibroacoustic therapy, whereas people can lay on mats and it's recorded music. The music is for very low wattage, I guess, hertz, from about 30 up to about 500 hertz, I think. Anyway, there's a lot of science behind it. I won't go into that now, but so far, people who have had sessions, the feedback has been really, really positive, and people feeling just so good after a session. So that's, once again, that's from the music, the harp. The difference also doing it one-on-one and not recorded music is that researchers found that people that listen to the recorded music find that they can't stop the music when they want to. They can't regulate whether they want more vibration or less. And also, when I play one-on-one, I'm actually observing the person and watching how they're breathing, what's happening, and they can stop it at any time. So there's a lot of new research coming out about the benefits of people, especially early onset Alzheimer's, and how it can actually help people with that condition, and also Parkinson's. And what it does is the vibrations, people refer to it as having a cellular massage, because it's all internal, and because the body's made up of about 70% water, the vibration goes through, and with the findings on the brain and the effects on the brain, it actually can balance the left side and the right side of the brain. So it's a relatively new modality, but the recent research and finding has been just absolutely amazing.
That's pretty incredible. They've got all sorts of emotional level things right through to how people feel physically because of the application of vibration, which you're directly responsible for that application of that vibration.
Yeah, at the moment, as far as I'm aware, I'm the only harpist providing this service in Australia at the moment. So I've just come back from a conference, a harp therapy one over in Victoria, whereas I did a presentation over there on this particular modality. And hopefully there'll be more people that will take it on board. I mean, it's not only the harp, you can actually do this with a guitar and a keyboard, or even maybe somebody suggested a cello, as long as you can play deep sounding notes, like below the middle C, right down to about 3 octaves below middle C. That's where you get most of the vibrations from. Anything above an octave above middle C, you won't actually feel a vibration from that. And this is where the link between sound baths and vibroacoustic music is. To do the program, there was a lot of science behind the program, learning the program, and to learn that, and also the effects on people with the sounds, and also to be aware that some sounds can actually have a negative effect on people. And I guess that's why it's very important with anybody who does do sound baths to know the science behind it, because I have heard of some instances where it's people who have been to sound baths have been quite distressed because it can bring up a lot of memories or, traumas, especially for people with PTSD. Yeah, it's like I said, it's quite amazing, and it's very subtle when you feel it in the vibrations. So you can adjust the vibration to each person, and you do that at the beginning, and also to find everybody has their own resonant tone, as they call it. And what I do is when I start a session is to find what that person's resonant tone is. And there's usually one which is stronger than another, and then the second one which is nearly as strong. And when you're playing the music, you're sort of working around those so that the vibrations are working together, and it goes through the whole body. And it's that balance, that cellular massage or musical cellular massage.
That's pretty fascinating and has amazing results too, by the sound of things.
Absolutely. And, people can Google what the findings are. It's just been quite amazing. And all the time, they're finding more and more benefits to it, and especially, like I said, in the area of brain health.
So we've heard quite a lot there about what it means that you're a harpist, Helen. We'll have another little break here, and after the break, we'll have a look at how someone might actually learn to play the harp. We've heard what it means that Helen is a harpist, and there's a lot of good that she brings to many people through a range of different places where she plays the harp. Now, let's have a look at how you could also become a harpist. Helen, if someone wanted to become a harpist, how would they go about it?
Well, I also teach the harp, but I find that I have a lot of people. My oldest student was over 80 when she started. My youngest was about 5. But I find a lot of people will come, they want to learn the harp, they come along, and I start from the way you sit at a harp, the posture and how you hold your hands, fingers, everything involved technically with the harp, and just starting off learning to play one string at a time, left hand and right hand separately. So it's a very, very slow process, but that's mainly because you need to get the technique right. And if you get the technique wrong, it just takes such a long time to unlearn. And I think that could be the same with other instruments also. So there are a lot of teachers around, and nowadays there's so much on the internet. There's so many teachers that do it online also. I don't do it online. I have a lot of information I give out to students. I don't feel comfortable about doing it online, but there are so many wonderful teachers, and there are teachers in Perth, a number of teachers. So if people really want to learn the harp, they can. The biggest negative about playing the harp is the cost of the harps. It is ridiculous, I know. But yet I can understand why, because it takes a long time to build a harp and to make a harp. And it's all, you cannot make a harp on a production line. Even Selby harps, one of the greatest harp makers, and Lyon and Healy, they're the two main ones for concert harps and also lever harps. They make, everything is all individually made. I actually went over to the factory in Italy where they make the concert harps for Selby, and I chose my harp from over there and had it imported into Australia. The cost of a good concert harp is at least 60,000 to 120,000 at least for an average one. A good lever harp, a 36 string one, which is a good size harp, you're looking at about 15,000. So a very cheap harp, 5,000 to 6,000. You get what you pay for. So that is what often puts people off. They want to learn the harp. When you tell them how much a harp costs, they just get put off. And they have some cheap harps, like the Pakistani harps. You can get a lot of those. They're beautiful, beautiful carved looking the harps with the carving and everything. Beautiful, but the strings are appalling and they break in the sound and they don't keep their tunes. And yeah, it's not good. So, like I said, there are plenty of teachers out there to teach a harp. If you can't find one physically, teach you one on one. You can go online. Definitely, so many out there. Yeah, but it's finding a harp that you're comfortable with and relatively cheap, I guess. At least 5,000 to 6,000 would be a basic harp.
That's like the entry point to owning a harp.
Absolutely. That's a basic, and that's only a smaller harp with not too many strings.
Do they come up in the second-hand market very much?
Yeah, yeah, but then you'd have to be very, very careful as to the type of harp you get and the strings and the sound and whether they keep their tune. And like I said, you'll get what you pay for.
I gather that they take a fair bit of tuning if you need to keep managing it.
Not really. If you get a new harp, it takes a few weeks or more for the strings to settle. But once it's tuned up, I always retune a harp before I play it, and it's just a matter of tweaking it, different strings, not all the strings. But if I haven't played the harp for a couple of weeks, then I'd probably have to go through each string individually and tune it up. But it's not an issue. You get used to doing it. But you need the other thing, which is a drawback, is the like my concert harp. We've got a four-wheel drive. That's the only way it'll fit in the back with the back seat down, and that just fits in the back of the car. My lever harps, which I take to Solaris nursing homes, I've got a sedan that I just have my back seat down all the time with the mattress in the back, so I can just put the harp in the back all the time. But that's how I would have to, yeah. And to buy a car, I always have to be careful and like make sure that I can actually fit my lever harp in the back of a smaller one. And before we bought our four-wheel drive, I had to make sure the concert harp actually fitted in the back of the car before we purchased it.
They're pretty large instruments. So when you mentioned about being like 1.8 meters tall or thereabouts, so yeah, that doesn't fit into a lot of cars.
No, no. And that's at an angle and in the back, yeah. And you need the trolley to put it on, plus all the covers that go on it. So it's a mammoth effort just to get in and out and to take it somewhere.
Being like 50, 60 kilos of weight and that sort of thing, you're lucky you've got a roadie.
Oh, yeah.
How much time would someone normally need to put in to get to the point where they could, I guess, comfortably play a song or two?
I know harpists that have been playing for 10, 15 years and still struggle. I think the younger you are, if you played a musical instrument as a child, I think it's not so hard to learn to play different instruments. It just depends. You can play very simple pieces and it wouldn't take you a couple of weeks or more, but you'd have to be, once again, you'd have to be dedicated and also disciplined, to practice every day to get to that point. But it shouldn't take too long. Definitely depends on how complicated piece was. I had a chap once. He came and bought one of the harps I was selling, And he bought this harp because he said that he wanted to play at a friend's wedding, and he just wanted to learn the one piece. So he bought the harp, and he just was determined to play particular music at their wedding, and that was it. So whether he's still playing or what, I don't know. But yeah, I don't know how long he had to do it.
So he took the harp and ran, and you've got no idea whether he was successful.
Yeah, no idea. That's it. It's sad that when you have students like that and you don't hear what happens to them, whether they still have a harp or not. But that's the same, I suppose, with any music teachers.
And do you get together with other harpists?
Yes, I'm also the president of the Harp Society of WA. We organise different workshops for different harpists. When was it? Last year we had a harpist come over from Italy, and he was fantastic, like a jazz harpist. And he did a concert in Perth, which was really wonderful. Next year, we're having a harpist from Canberra coming over to do a workshop, but that's on therapeutic music. There's a lady in Carter Harps in South Australia, Sunitha. She organises international harpists to come to Australia to do performances Australia wide. And as the WA Harp Society, we also have a harp ensemble formed up from members of that, and we play. I go to Perth to play with them, and we do different things around Perth. There's also a lady down in Denmark. She's on the committee, and Shamara. She actually has a harp consort in Denmark down south, and they often do different events or different things with the Denmark music. I don't know what they're called down in Denmark, but I was there with them. We did a session with the Brave New Works program down in Denmark a few months ago in April. And that involved not only the harp, but it also involved the voice. And that was quite beautiful as part of one of the programs of the Brave New Works down there. I guess because you're in the harp group, you hear of other harpists and you do know what's going on around the area and metropolitan wise. But there's not many, I don't think, in the southwest that I'm aware of. There might be one in Margaret River, but that's about it that I'm aware of. Like I said, they've got a small harp consort in Denmark, which is lovely, and also in Perth, the harp ensemble. So it's happening, but yeah.
Yeah, so there are people around. It's a matter of getting in touch, I guess, and working out just where people are.
Yeah, and people can just Google Harp Society of WA. They've got a Facebook page to find out what's happening. And also on the page, there are harps for sale. There's also teachers listed, and if people want a harpist to perform at weddings or special occasions, they also have different harpists on the website there, people to get in touch with. So it's a small community, and the people that are in the community are very passionate and just love doing what they're doing. And it's not hard to get involved.
If there's anything else that you might want to say about being a harpist.
I'd encourage anybody to give it a go. I'm happy for people to come and try out the harp. I've got harps people can try out. And if it's something that they want to do, I'm always encouraging people to give it a go. But the harp is very much a healing instrument. In the orchestra, the harp is part of the percussion section, which is interesting, not the strings, it's a percussion. And there's so many things you can do with a harp, and there's so many different types and sizes of harps. And for me, it's just like I said, for me, it's definitely a healing instrument and a challenging instrument, but it gives you so much.
Thank you very much for your time, Helen. And all the Forest.chat listeners wish you all the best with your future endeavours.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being on the show, Helen. You've been listening to Forest.chat, where we talk about individual endeavour in Western Australia, what it takes, what it means, and how you do it. I'm your host, Paul Vandermeer, and in today's episode, we talked with Helen Punch about being a harpist. Remember, there are 4 ways to get involved with forest.chat. Go to forest.chat to subscribe to the emails where you get advance notice of the episodes. If you want to listen to the episodes, go to forest.chat/episodes. If you do something that other people may find interesting, book an interview at forest.chat/interview. And if you want to support a small business in WA, go to forest.chat/advert. I'm looking forward to joining you with our next guest. Until then, enjoy making it happen.